Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, then welcome. My name is Priya, aka Beauty and the Books, and we do all things beauty and book based here. Now today we have a very exciting book review, and as you can tell from the title, because that's the reason why I'm here, we are reviewing The Scarlet Veil by Shelby Mahurin. And if you can't already guess, this makeup look was inspired by the vampires in this book, and the cover and all of that, the themes, just everything I got from this book. This is what this makeup was based off. And if you head over to my Instagram, there is a little reel, and even on my YouTube and my TikTok, maybe there's also, maybe I'll put it there too, I don't know, probably, we'll see. But yeah, so today we are reviewing this. Little disclaimer, this was gifted to me by the publisher Electric Monkey, so I just want to shout them out, say thank you very much for gifting this to me. It comes out at the end of September 28th, is what's written on the back of my book. So without further ado, let's get into it. We'll start with the plot. So if you pause it and you can read the synopsis over here. I do have to say, this book is part of the Serpent and Dove world. I think it's a kind of sequel to it, in a way that all the events follow on from Serpent and Dove. All the characters are the same. I think Célie is also in the Serpent and Dove series, so they are linked together. So I think if you've not read Serpent and Dove, you're okay, because the author does a very good job at kind of foregrounding and giving you the necessary information you might need. You might be a little bit confused here and there, but yeah, that's fine. I think the issue is when you've already started the trilogy like I have. So I've read book 1, but I haven't read book 2 or 3. And now I basically know everything's gonna be okay. And to be fair, I think that's just the case for it anyway. So I would recommend you read the original trilogy first, so that you've got a little bit more of added depth and context to these characters and who they are. Yeah, if you can, I would read that trilogy first before you read this, or just don't start it at all and read this and then go back. I think that works. Otherwise you're just gonna spoil it for yourself, because you basically know what happens at the end of the trilogy, because certain characters are still around and certain characters aren't, so it's just a bit like, why? Okay, so the plot is what it's described as an enemies to lovers murder mystery vampire romance is what it's described as. Now, it's been a hot second since vampires have had their moment, and I'm here for it. Like, I'm here for this. It is an enemies to lovers, I guess, but the slow burn is so very slow, that I just found it a little bit annoying. Very slow. And I'm not talking Anthony Bridgerton and Kate Sharma slow. I'm talking slower than that. So much so that I would consider it more of like a Stockholm Syndrome type romance rather than slow burn, because I don't think Michael ever really hated Célie. I think that's how you say her name. Yeah, I think she hated him and was disgusted by the fact that he's a vampire. That's not a spoiler because it's about vampires. But I don't think he ever reciprocated those feelings of hatred. So therefore I don't think it could be an enemies to lovers. So if you're expecting any throes of passion or any declarations of love or anything like that, you're probably going to have to wait till like book 3, 4 or 5, depending on how many books long this series is going to be, because you did not get it in this one. This is a murder mystery mixed with vampires, mixed with ghosts, and a whole witchy fantasy type world, and I was here for it. I think the ghost aspects and the murder mystery aspect were really nice subplots, or I think the murder mystery was probably the main plot, and then the ghost aspect of it was definitely a subplot, but I think it worked really well in helping push the narrative forward, and it also gave Célie, more dimension as a character, because there was something going on other than figuring out who was dead. So I didn't expect it, and I also loved it. Going back to the murder mystery aspect, I did not expect the ending. I read a review on Goodreads that did say that they halfway through expected who was at fault for all these murders and stuff, who the culprit was, and I honestly had no clue. And you may have watched some of my old reviews and you may know that when I just read passively. What's on the page is getting to me. I'm not always on it when it comes to little nuggets of information that the author might drop here and there. Not really. Moving on to the writing. The whole book is from Célie's point of view, and it does flit back and forth between her like memories and nightmares, and as well as the present. Now, Célie has a lot of trauma, bless her. She went through a lot in the Serpent Dove trilogy. She went through a lot. So there are elements of that to the plot and the writing. So there's a trigger warning, I guess. But I found that very useful. And I also think if you've read the trilogy, it'll add a certain level of depth to her story, because I don't think she's that much of a main character in the trilogy from what I've gathered from other reviews. So I do really enjoy the insight and the kind of flashes of insight. It's not just here's way back when, and now here's now, and now here's the future. It's I'm living my life and all of a sudden I'm just getting hit with these little triggers that are therefore taking me back to X time and X time in my life. Overall, to be fair, the writing was simple, easy to read. I really appreciated the level of depth of world building because it wasn't too intense. Now you're probably thinking, what? Sorry? Firstly, there's a breadth of characters and creatures and types of beings in this world. So you've got witches, you've got werewolves, you've got vampires, you've got witch hunters that are no longer witch hunters because, you know, they've got woke. Then you have different types of witches, but then you have different types of little creatures that are like little goblins that live in the forest, and I love it. I love that sort of mystical fantasy world where there's loads of different types of creatures. But then also the whole Serpent and Dove world is just really cool, and the way that she has described Requiem? I don't know, how do we say this? Requiem. And the fact that I've now googled it is really cool because, what is it? A mass for the repose of souls of the dead. And they're vampires. How cool. I love it when things like that happen. But yeah, the whole vibe of that island is just so gothic and dark, and just like, it's like a mix of like the gothic moodiness of like Dracula, but kind of the peppy little love story of the Vampire Diaries, I guess. Like, you mix them together. But also it wasn't too much either. Like, you weren't just bombarded with all this information about this island and about this world that just was too overwhelming for you to even grasp anything else. So I think it was a very nice balance. Last but not least, the characters. Now, we'll start off with Célie. She's the main one, so let's start off with her. At first, I hated her. I'm not gonna lie. I thought that she was so pathetic and just annoying. But then I soon kind of realised that that's the point. Not that she's pathetic and annoying, but that she isn't your typical fantasy heroine. She isn't like physically strong and quick-witted and running around doing all sorts of things. She's quite, I don't want to say shy, but reserved and a little bit more inner thought rather than a little bit more brash in her actions. I liked how the author gave her a different type of strength to the ones that those who have read Serpent and Dove would have known already. So all of her friends, the female leads, are all very kind of confident and loud, and they've got these powers, and they're all witches, and they're all can do really cool things, whereas Célie is literally just a human person. And I like the fact that they maintained a humanness and didn't make her out to be this really cool, strong heroine that, you know, all of a sudden can do everything. I like how the author left her flawed as a result of her traumas from the previous series. Otherwise, it just made her a little bit more like real. A bit like, right, to be fair, this is how normal people would react to being locked in a coffin. This is it. I have to say, when it comes to the vampires, I love the fact that their character isn't just based on the fact that they're vampires. Like, there's more to them than the fact that, you know, they have fangs. And I especially love the twins. So Odessa and Dimitri are siblings, and they are cousins of Michael, and I love them, and I wish they got more screen time, and I hope they do, because they're just really cool. And I think they were starting to develop as the novel went in terms of, we got a little bit more sense of what their characters are like and how they feel towards Célie, whereas at the beginning it was very much like, you know, these are your bodyguards and that's it. Michael I was a little bit indifferent about, I'm not gonna lie. Like, yeah, he's a really cool, smoldering, sexy vampire, you know, think Edward from Twilight or Stefan, maybe even a little bit of Damon put in there, but like, it was nothing new. Like, I was just used to that, and it's just to be like, right, okay, cool, you're that person. I don't know if it was because Célie is the main character here, or if I'll feel this way about these characters when I read Serpent Dove, but all of her friends were so annoying. The way that they were like, I don't know if it's just the way they were treating her like a baby, and you were basically feeling Célie's frustration about them as she was, you know, as a result of how they treated her. But yeah, I was just a bit like bored with them, to be fair. They kind of made me cringe a little bit. Overall, it's a solid vampire fantasy fiction. You can't go wrong. Take Célie with a pinch of salt, alright? She might seem pathetic at first, but you know, I love her narrative arc and the way she develops as a character, and the more self-belief she has in herself. Brilliant. I also wouldn't have too much high hopes for the enemies to lovers trope, because to me it didn't really exist. There was a few steamy moments here and there, the classic, oh, let's fall down and pretend to kiss in an alley so the bad guy doesn't see us type thing, but otherwise there wasn't really anything. Maybe I just read over it, I don't know, but I didn't really see anything of note, so I hope the next books have it. World building, incredible. I love the whole gothic moody sense of the novel. Super cool. The ghosts, again, they were like probably one of my favorite parts of the book. I think that aspect of Célie's story was really cool. Yeah, I just want to say it was a very enjoyable read, and I'm really excited for the next ones, and I will be diving into Serpent and Dove as soon as I can, because I'm ready to get back into that series. But that is it for today's review. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and all the good stuff down below. Equally, if you are excited to read this, or if you have read it, let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. I keep staring at my makeup. I'm obsessed with myself. Like, I am obsessed. And realise that vampires are real people too. You know, pipe down, this isn't your story now, guys.